Hello, welcome back. We're going to discuss the main concepts of Hinduism in this video. And you can see they're listed here, but I'm going to give you more detail, so you should take notes. Incidentally, some of the core questions that you should be taking notes on from last time, I didn't go over the core questions. I will ask you to explain the three main aspects of devotional religion, which includes Vishnu and what god that is, and give me details about Vishnu, Shiva and what he represents, and the divine female. So I want you to tell me about Vishnu, Shiva, the divine female from the last video. In this video, I'm going to ask, what are the main concepts of Hinduism? Explain each. And I'm going to add one that's not on here. Let's see, I'm going to add Brahman. He's not on there, but I will tell you about Brahman. Okay, so let's talk about backing up. This aspect of religion in India is 1,500 years after the Aryan invasion of the Indus Valley people, and approximately 1,500 years of developing this system that becomes systematized, and it's now something we can call Hinduism. And it's pretty well defined, and it will go through further development as challenges come up and responses are needed. And remember, that's how the history of religion goes: challenge and response. So some of the main concepts of Hinduism. The first is samsara, which is reincarnation. And I've mentioned reincarnation, but let's talk about what that is. In the body again. Incarnation is in the body. So we get a body again and again and again. So there's this cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth. It starts all over again. And it is a cycle that's said to be eternal, forever. Now that could get a little depressing if you think about it. So reincarnation is the most basic point. This is a key piece, and it is, we'll call it on the ordinary level, the foundational piece. Karma is the next concept, and that is the result of deeds, but let's talk about what that really means. It's the result of previous deeds in another lifetime. So the life we live now is because of the previous life we lived. So if you're suffering now, it's because you did bad things and you need to learn something from that now. And it's more than that. We have a whole cosmic law of cause and effect in karma. So it's a force almost. Karma is a force of cosmic law of cause and effect. And it is your karma is determined by the level of society into which you're born. So remember the caste system. The lower you are, the more karma you have to work off. So you're working up the caste system through this cycle of reincarnation. And the goal is at the top, release from the cycle. You get the teaching about ultimate reality when you are a Brahmin male in society. Now, we talked about the caste system, and I tried to get you to think about, from a Western perspective, how you can see institutional racism from looking at another religion. Now I want to go back and say, from within Hinduism, it's not racist and it's not unfair or unjust. The idea is that people at the lower levels of society are working off their karma, and by doing their duty according to their caste, their gender, their stage of life, they can rise. And this cycle has been going on forever. Everyone has been at the bottom rung and has been going through this. All is one. So this is not an injustice. This is how karma works cosmically. So from the perspective of Hinduism, it's not institutional racism at all. So I'm just trying to give you different perspectives because we have this conversation going on right now about institutional racism. So if you're from the outside looking in on Hinduism, you might make that charge. But if you're within, it's not a charge at all because everyone's working off karma, including us people in the West. We're considered at the lowest rung and we're the farthest away from enlightenment. So we have to work off our karma too. Everybody in the world does. Okay, so karma, the result of previous deeds. Dharma is the next concept. Dharma is duty according to one's caste. So we talked about this. The whole system fits together. You have reincarnation, you have this rising through levels of society and gaining good karma for doing your duty, and duty is according to your caste and your stage of life and whether you're male or female. Now, I also want to mention one other thing about doing your duty. The stratification of society has a purpose. It's not, I'm a Westerner, so I have a hard time not seeing a racial thing there, but the logic of the stratification of society is that each level of society has a different duty to do to keep society organized and functioning properly. Remember the story from the Bhagavad Gita where there was a war and Arjuna, who was a prince and is supposed to go to war, was not doing that, and Vishnu had to come down and restore the order? There's a reason for the order. The Brahmins are at the top. They are the priests. They need to be ritually pure in order to perform their priestly duties. In order to go into a temple and present offerings to the god, you have to be ritually pure. So there's this idea of ritual purity and ritual pollution. It's not like germs and dirt. It's more like uncleanness. Things that are dead, things that are coming off of the body are polluting, like hair or skin or saliva or bodily function stuff. Those things are unclean, and if you're unclean, you cannot come into the presence of the gods and present offerings. So the Brahmins at the top have to maintain their purity, which means they can't do certain jobs which would make them impure. So they can't go to war. War is definitely going to be ritually polluting. But there's a whole class of people who do that work. And when they do their work, well, they get good karma, and next time they rise to the next level. The merchants have to do dealings that are unclean. So as we go down, the Shudras, the lower level, they do all the dirty work because that's needed in society. So things like cutting hair, playing music. I once asked, why are Shudras musicians? The musicians play music in the temples and in worship, but the strings in their instruments were made of horsehair, or the drums were made of animal skin, so those things are unclean. So you get this idea that the caste system is more like a division of labor for the functioning of not just society, but the universe. Okay, it gets bigger. If the priests don't do their rituals, then the universe doesn't continue. It's almost like there's this coordination between the thinkers, the feelers, the doers, to keep the universe going through their ritual practices and worship. All right, it all fits together. It's very, I think it's beautiful and logical. That doesn't mean it's true. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not Hindu, but I do think it's very beautiful and logical. And when you study it, you see how human minds conceive of reality and work out the implications of their conceptions of reality. In that sense, it's a very human thing to do. Make sense of things and make meaning. Remember, religion is the belief or set of beliefs used to give meaning to experience. This is one way of doing that. All right. What is missing right here, and I want you to fill this in your notes, is, let's number this. Samsara is number 1, karma number 2, dharma number 3. Let's make number 4 Brahman. B-R-A-H-M-A-N. Brahman is ultimate reality. Remember I mentioned early on, Atman is Brahman. The self is ultimate reality. So Brahman is ultimate reality. And this is where the individual self realizes this is not real. I am not real. I am Brahman, the one. This is probably the hardest concept to grasp, and philosophical Hinduism will try to bring that out. At least Advaita Vedanta will. So Brahman is ultimate reality. Atman, the self, is Brahman, ultimate reality. There is no individual. Ultimately, this individual self that I take myself to be, Dr. Burton, is not Dr. Burton. I am Brahman. The individual goes away, is absorbed in the one. Okay, this is hard, but that's why the caste system exists, because it's hard. And you have to keep working on it and keep working on it. And then one time, when you're at the top, you're a male Brahmin, you realize it. And then we'll talk about what happens then. That's the next one, moksha. Moksha is enlightenment or self-realization. And this enlightenment is release from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. So yes, you're going through these lifetimes and suffering in the caste system and doing your duty. And then when you do it well, you get to that top, you get enlightenment. And you're released from this process. It's an awakening, and you are one with the one. Okay, those are the main concepts of Hinduism. 5 main concepts. All right, now let's go back a little bit. Remember the teaching about the search for the creative power we talked about in the Vedas? At the end of the Upanishads, they locate the self as the ultimate reality. Creation is no longer outside of the mind. There's not a world out there, but all of this that we perceive is in the mind of Brahman. All right, so Brahman is the one mind, and he's thinking the world. The world is an idea in the mind of Brahman. We are ideas in the mind of Brahman. All right, now that's hard to get your head around, right? So from the ordinary point of view, or samsara, where reincarnation is happening, what we're going through right now, this is the ordinary point of view. Reincarnation is the most basic concept. And if you take reincarnation out of that, the whole system would collapse, because then you can't support karma, and you can't support dharma and the caste system, and you can't support enlightenment. So from the ordinary point of view, reincarnation is like the most important piece. But from the ultimate point of view, from the point of view of Brahman, the most important thing is that you realize the nature of the self as not this individual, but the one, Brahman. The Atman is Brahman. So moksha, this experience of enlightenment, dispels reincarnation. Once you get to enlightenment, you realize that whole process of reincarnation wasn't real either. It was in the mind of Brahman happening. I know this is trippy, but stay with me. The individual ego does not really exist. It's a false construct. It's a false construct. The individual is. It's an imagined reality. From the ultimate point of view, samsara is unreal. From the ultimate point of view, this ordinary existence isn't real. Now, the tension in India has been, how do we combine this ordinary point of view, where we find ourselves living in the world, and we think it's real, with the ultimate point of view, where the goal is moksha, or enlightenment? How do you combine those things? And they did this by creating a system where you can live through stages. So remember the ashrama dharma system, karma ashrama dharma system. At one level and at one point in your life, the ordinary point of view is real, and at another level and later in life, it's unreal. So remember the story I told you about the older man and and the son walking to the edge of town. The older man turns his back and walks into the forest. The younger man goes back to town. The man who goes into the forest is going to go and practice yoga in the forest to prepare his soul for reaching enlightenment or moksha. He's realizing all of this life that I just lived is not real, and he's preparing himself for enlightenment, awakening, ultimate reality. Now, here's the challenge. If a person could reach enlightenment through meditation, then why waste time? What's the point of this life? Why not, strive for enlightenment when you're in your 20s? And that's what the Buddha saw. So when we get to Buddhism, we're going to see that the Buddha realized, hey, I want enlightenment now. Why go through this whole, social thing, having kids, pursuing pleasure and wealth and power when all of it's meaningless? Ultimately, it's not real. All right, now, the way Hinduism responded to that challenge, the young people going, we want enlightenment now, they created this system of contributing to society and then getting moksha later. But the reason we need society is related to these concepts again. If we don't have people upholding society, having children, and the caste systems doing their job, then the whole thing falls apart. And maybe it comes up again when we talk about philosophical religion. The world that appears to us is created by desire. Once desire ceases, the world ceases. But guess what? Desire never ceases. That's why the world of illusion is eternal. Okay, I'm going to pause here though, but you can see attention now. But there's a way of if you don't do your duty and have children, then you get bad karma. And if you get bad karma, then you just come back in reincarnation again. So this is the way they sort of compromised with the young people to get them to still have children. We need you to contribute to society so that we can all proceed in this method of getting enlightenment through this unreal process of reincarnation. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Next time, we are going to talk about philosophical religion. What we did today was went through the main concepts of Hinduism, and I gave 5. That sounds like a really good core question. What are the main concepts of Hinduism? Explain each. So hopefully you took notes. If not, then you can watch the video again. Okay, next time, philosophical religion, and it's going to be the hardest part possibly of this whole class. This philosophical side of Hinduism is both difficult and, I don't know, I think it's exciting. It's exciting. Even if you don't believe it, you can still get into it and see how the parts work and how they got there and see just the human mind at work and what we do in order to create meaning and find meaning. All right, I'll see you in the next video.